Am I live? Are we live? Hi. Did you see me frozen there for I'm not going to tell you how many seconds. You might not know. Hi. Yes, you may be getting feet content this time. I checked my framing ahead of time and I figured this would work. Hello. Hello, Rosie. Yeah, part of me likes to just chitter chatter at the beginning of these to let people enter the room, but at the same time, for the people in the playback, that's not fun to watch me chat to what looks like no one to them, right? I don't know. What do you guys think of my outfit? I don't care. I love it. This skirt just came in, and I'm just telling you guys now, in case somebody asks, this skirt came from an online store called Simple Retro. I was kind of looking for a new, more grown up modcloth, and that's what I came across. So and when I got this skirt, I was like, oh my gosh, it is the prettiest thing I've ever seen. So if anybody asks, Simple Retro. Also, I was going to say, let me know if you don't hear my audio all that well, but you guys would be complaining if that were already a problem. So yes, the tattoo on my foot did hurt, but it's Oliver, so it's totally worth it. That was one of my more painful ones, if not the most painful. I look like a princess. Thank you. Yes, there's sparkles woven into them, and they're different sizes. It's so beautiful. Yeah, Alicia's feet. They are flat. I don't know if I should have put them on camera. They're not delicate feet. They're big, flat Mexican feet. Yes, so we are going to be reading emails in this video. So I'm just going to go ahead and at least while people pile in, talk about what we're going to be talking about in case you didn't gather it from the thumbnail. I have to keep in mind that not everybody who's in my live streams or watches my videos are people who are on Twitter. But on Twitter, I was inviting people, ex-fans of Gabbie Hanna, to write in to my email in order to tell me just kind of briefly, what made you change your mind. So I am going to be reading there. I have about 16 of those. And for the longer ones, I really kind of did have to kind of truncate down to, the part that was really, in my opinion, the most critical, just because I wanted to make sure that it was palatable for you and me. So let me make sure I go over my notes that I have at the beginning of every one of these. Basically a podcast. This is basically a podcast. It is a public live event where I don't wear headphones. So this is conversation style. You guys hear me say this every week. Conversation style with my audience. So expect the conversation to seem disjointed at times, expect tangents. I do those already in my regular videos. And if you don't like these things, if you don't like the way I talk, there's so much content on YouTube to be watching. Go watch somebody who's talks fast and makes short videos. Go do that. I don't care. My feelings aren't hurt. But sometimes it's all over the place. Just for anybody new, I address, because this is a conversation, of course, I address you guys, but I do kind of follow an order of priority. Top priority in terms of messages that I address are super chats. And that is not my way of saying, hey guys, give me money. That is my way of saying, if you give me money, I'm not going to be a dick and not recognize that you sent me money. I also just looked at the clock to be like, did I say dick in the first 2 minutes? I don't want to be a dick. I will answer or acknowledge your super chats. If I don't see it right away, my mods will let me know in Patreon / sometimes in the chat, they'll let me know. But after super chats comes my Patreons in our my Patreons. I hate it when people say that. I can't believe I said that. Second priority are my patrons in our Discord. We have a channel that's dedicated to this series. I'm loving this so much, by the way. Let me finish this thought though. And then third priority would be the emails that you guys send in. And then from there, if we have time, I'll occasionally address like random chats throughout the preferred slow mode. I grappled with, first of all, I couldn't figure it out. But I grappled with whether or not I really wanted that. I know some people wanted that last time, and I decided that I don't want just delayed chat. I'd like to see things in real time, and if it's very fast, it's very fast. But again, if it's really important to you that your message get heard, super chat is the way. You can try emailing me, but I can't really promise any emails that come in while we're doing the thing. Ashley, I love you so much. Every week, Ashley's like, I can't make it to basically a podcast. I'm so sorry. I've got this and that going on. And then she's here. I love you so much. And let's see. That's pretty much it. Oh, please. I say this in a lot of videos, but I need to remember to do it in like every video. Don't send hate to anyone on my behalf. Or just in general, like contempt is one thing, but don't send hate on my behalf. Don't be a dick for me. Like that's, I won't like you if you do that. That saying, did you guys know? That said, did you guys know that we had a mole in our Discord a couple weeks ago? That was a lot of fun. I'm sure that like every Discord has moments like that where they're like intruder alert. But it was funny because it was right after I tweeted out something like, "Hey guys, like anybody's welcome. You can come and lurk. Just keep in mind that anything that you read there is a private conversation. We're allowed to talk about whatever the hell we want, and you're not allowed to take that information or misinformation and share that with anybody." Sorry, I was playing mod for a second. Share that with anyone because it's behind a paywall. I'm not going to put that mole on blast, but I'll just let you know we know who you are. It's sad. That mole. So it's gotten to the point, I will say, like at first it was very stressful for everybody until we kind of realized, like, what are we worried about? I think I will say this about my Patreon/Discord is that the people, I feel that it is a very safe place, and the people there feel that it is a very safe place with good people where we can feel like comfortable and share our thoughts and speak freely. And so when somebody comes in with bad intentions, I think that just kind of sets off like, that fight or flight. When in actuality, there's nothing for us to be ashamed about. Like I said, it's a private conversation, but what we're saying is pretty much what we're saying on Twitter anyway. So now we just kind of hope that this mole will come back. But I saw that they canceled their membership to my Patreon. Send another one. We send messages to you. Just go ahead to Patreon and search mole. You'll see hey mole. So you'll find all kinds of messages for yourself. And while I'm on the note of my Patreon, because I kind of want to talk to you guys about what's coming up. It is no secret that right now the only thing to talk about is Gabbie Hanna. And it is also no secret that I don't give a fuck if somebody doesn't like that. Like I said before, like this is the new Gabbie show. Sorry, I'm kind of checking out what my mods are saying. This is the new Gabbie show. And so with everything going on, I thought that things were going to be slowing down. It's so crazy because every time you think something's going to slow down is when like it picks up again. So I thought things were slowing down kind of with Trisha Paytas and Oscar, like seemingly recovering from at least the initial trauma of what happened to them. But then I noticed on Twitter, things are starting to pop up. And also you guys have tipped me off to the commentary channel Sid, where he shared information that was basically leaked from Gabbie's Discord. Ambrin's here. I love you, Ambrin. Hi, Ambrin. what was I saying? Oh yeah. So I watched that video, and now people are talking about what was going on in Gabbie's Discord last year, which this will dovetail with the topic today, which it's great. But I will say it's this is something that I've been waiting for 11 months. I thought 9. It's been 11 months. I know that a lot of my patrons and a lot of my followers have been waiting for these things to be noticed. So on one hand, it's kind of frustrating because it's like, where were you? Where was everybody a year ago when I needed you to know that this was going on? But at the same time, like, at least there's attention being drawn to a lot of the behavior from last summer, kind of like intimidation of not only, Gabbie's haters, but also her own patrons, her own paying fans, and how she kind of mistreated them and all that. So with that, I'm going to be talking more. So in this week's, when you guys come here, I just go ahead and tell you what this week's video is about. This week's video is going to be about the psychological effects that we've witnessed from Gabbie to specifically people like Trisha and Oscar, but also to the general audience. Hashtag water gang, if you know what that means. I would encourage all of you to bring a water bottle to these. And if you see a blue wrench, say hashtag water gang, it's a rule. You have to take a sip of your water. That's just a rule around here. And I think it's a good rule. But so that's the topic for this week. So I may not want to get too much into that if it's something I've already talked about in that video. Yes, I've recorded it. And I've decided to, and you may have seen this on Twitter. And if you're not on Twitter, here you go. But you've probably heard about my interactions with Gabbie Hanna last summer. And after it happened, I kind of like dusted myself off and I was like, I'm going to continue my commentary and I'm going to do my best to keep my personal involvement with her out of it. And I think I did a pretty good job most of the time when talking about situations outside of this and things that were a little more innocuous than what's going on right now. And then with everything happening like this, like especially watching Trisha in their video crying, just begging and pleading Gabbie to stop, and reading that Oscar was curled up in a ball shaking in his closet. I know that it's probably so easy for some people to be like, oh my God, over dramatic, get over it. But then I, out of curiosity, I went back and from that day, the day that the hate mob was sent on me. If you don't know what I'm talking about, search my video from June 21st or so of last year. But there was a hate mob sent on me and I was in isolation, in quarantine. I had nobody nearby. I had never experienced anything like it before. Obviously, I've experienced it every day since because the stands don't go away. But in the moment, it was something I'd never experienced before. It was so incredibly just overwhelming, doesn't do it justice. It was definitely traumatizing. It was funny because I've mentioned this to my patrons, but I saw a comment where somebody was like, traumatizing. Oh, that's kind of like, what did they say? Traumatizing. That's such a strong word. No, like you don't get to determine what was traumatic for other people. But I did, not knowing what to do. Like I talked to my mom on the phone. I talked to Jake a little bit and I'm like, these people don't really understand what this means. So then I thought to get on live stream and talk to my patrons. And I had just started a Patreon. So thank God. That probably was not on accident that I had started one shortly before that. But I talked to my patrons for about 45 minutes before we hopped over into a Google Hangout. And so I really have my initial reaction to the hate mob on tape. Do people still say that? On tape, recorded. And so I'm letting you guys know that you'll see a snippet of that in this week's video, expected to go up Thursday in a live premiere, probably around 8 o'clock Eastern. And I do plan to release the full footage of that this weekend, probably Sunday. with all due respect to you, please respect me by not like treating me with kid gloves and like, saying things like, oh, this isn't good for you. Don't do like, it's actually very good for me. The more I've shared it here lately and watched it, the more I've been able to kind of like process this stuff. So I did not know that that's what I needed. That maybe this would help me kind of move on and heal from that. So, but for as long as this stuff is going to kind of spark something in me in terms of violating my principles, my values, and all of that, I'm going to speak up, and I'm going to speak from personal experience. Marissa Del Playa, I started watching last year at the Hate Mob. Ugh. After that happened was when I knew I was an ex-fan of Gabbie. Thank you for sharing that, and that is that is the topic of today's video. So thank you for that, Marissa. Thank you for feeling that for me too. Yeah, they went for, and I should be clear too, I wasn't the only one who experienced this. I had a small group of followers that really kind of like stuck by my side during this time, and they got harassed and treated horribly as well. My friend Amberin was doxxed and harassed to no end. We experienced just some of the meanest people on the internet. Hey, Mole, you're out there. I know. So I was just going to say, again, I was looking for the thumbs down. I was going to say, if there's a thumbs down, maybe the mole's in here, but I don't know. But while we're at it, if you're enjoying this so far, thumbs up, but only if you want to. So yeah, the topic of ex-fans or people who were once fans of Gabbie's work, but have since decided that they're not. I want to know kind of like, what was that thought process for you? So I've got, oh, I don't know if the mole is here. I mean, those people, they follow me around the internet. We know that. So I have about 16 letters. Did I say this already? I don't think I did. I have about 16 letters. I did say that, and then I said I had to truncate some of them down. So I'm going to read into those here shortly. I will be checking. Oh, of course I drank my water and let a little bit trickle down the wrong pipe. Let me. I don't want to be like, I'm not like other girls. I'm clumsy and stuff, but I actually am such a klutz that like I have a hard time drinking water. It's difficult for me. Excuse me. I'm so sorry for anybody that might have been wearing earbuds. But hashtag water gang. Is it fair to say that I was already on that? But yeah. Where was I? I'm going to read these letters and just letting you guys know that I will be checking in between each letter just to see if there are any super chats that I need to address, because those are important. And do forgive me if I have occasionally, once in a blue moon, check my Discord to just see if there's anything like moderator related that I need to address. So I do my best to juggle all of these different tabs, and we're on our 7th one, and I think you and I are doing pretty well with this. So far, so good. So let's see. I've got my compilation of letters, and I will say, I want to mention that I may be mentioning the names of the people who wrote in if they gave me express permission to use their names, or if they signed their name, or they introduced themselves as a name. But some people have asked to remain anonymous, and so I've noted that those people are anonymous, and then some people just didn't include a name, so I just am not mentioning their names. But I will say, there is a viewer out there, Shelby. I'm hoping you're there. Shelby wrote me a note about how she was a fan of Gabbie Hanna and changed her mind. And this was a letter that I didn't see until after the last episode. And I was like, damn, this is a good topic. So Shelby, I will say, like, in a sense, you really kind of shaped this episode. So thank you for that. That said, I didn't include anything from your second letter because for reasons that anybody can understand, you wrote in again to be like, hey, I thought I talked about this, but here's, so I really liked kind of your first message. It was super succinct. So let me check on the live really quick. Looks like we're doing okay. All right. Please don't stare at my feet. I want to be comfortable, but I don't like them just being out there. So let's see. First letter was from Shelby. So this was before I asked you guys to send me anything of this nature, which I just, by the way, I want to note that I think that like with everything going on and people now, the conversation shifting to Gabbie Hanna and her fans, I think this is just like, it's just lucky that this week's topic really aligned with what's being talked about right now. So let's see. Shelby's letter says, okay, this is weird and I feel weird for writing it, but hello, I am a new fan. Thank you, Shelby. I remember hunting down your channel after last year's Gabbie fiasco with an F this B attitude. I was a 26-year-old Gabbie stan and now I'm embarrassed for it. I remember watching your videos irritated because I came into adulthood watching and growing with Gabbie, and how dare you bully her. Over the last year, that fan obsession just melted away. She wasn't fun to watch anymore. I started to get really shitty, icky vibes from her, and watching her while I was dealing with stress in my life, just not something I could do. But I still followed her these past few weeks. Some of the tweets I kept getting pushed at me by her were incredibly triggering. They were hateful and seemed to be completely out of the blue. I've been watching videos from other commentary channels and stumbled upon yours again, and I have to say I love yours the most. Thank you. You seem super fair, while also offering fair criticism on her behavior and other crazy actions. I look forward to another video, and I hope to be part of your next live event conversation. So here you are. Thank you, Shelby. I apologize, you guys. I might be a little slow because it looks like I have to scroll both ways with this email. But yeah, it's interesting that Shelby uses the word icky to describe how these tweets feel, because if you recall, that is the word I used when in my video, I said I talked to a friend. Let's be real. I called Amberin. And Amberin can attest to this. I told her after the conversation I had with Gabbie, she ended it on a nice note, but I still feel icky. And that is really kind of just like the best way to describe, at least for me, like how some of these behaviors make me feel. So I wonder if that's the case for a lot of people, if it's just like icky. On that note, I have another letter from Heather. Heather said that things started to go downhill for me once she stopped posting story times and started the process of moving into her new house. I started to feel like she was acting pretentious, and it was not very relatable. Her current attitude is disgusting to me. She's bullying people who she believes are bullying her, when in reality, they're just offering their opinion on her music, books, or YouTube content. It's almost as if she doesn't know what the word bully means. The worst is her attitude towards Trisha Paytas. I used to dislike Trisha for all the dumb things they would do to get views, but after their breakup with Jason Nash and subsequent ouster from the Vlog Squad, maybe ousted from the Vlog Squad, I started to feel empathy for them. Now I feel like I've become such an advocate for the person who feels they have no voice, and I've become a fan. Gabbie's inability, nay, unwillingness, to leave Trisha alone when clearly they're going through some mental health issues is disgusting. Trisha was just trying to be helpful, and Gabbie needlessly attacked them. The damage that Gabbie is doing to other mentally ill people is pretty severe. I agree with everything that you said, and I really liked that you said, I'm just assuming these people are watching, and I hope you are. Like, if you wrote in, I hope that you're watching to see if I read your letter. So I really like the part where you say Gabbie's inability, nay, unwillingness, because that is one thing that, I say a lot in situations where people try to claim that they can't, that they're incapable of doing whatever like healthy thing that needs to happen. And one thing I often say, and I'm sure a lot of people say this, there are probably a lot of you out there, but I'll say it's not that you can't, or yeah, it's not that you can't, it's that you won't. So there is a difference there. And I think that Gabbie is totally capable of being empathetic. I mean, all it takes is being human to see people like Trisha being so desperate for her to stop and to kind of keep it going. So I totally agree with that. Was there anything else that you said in there that I was? It's interesting too that a lot of people are starting to come around to hearing out Trisha. I mean, and a lot of people are honest. They're like, I didn't used to like her, but like this person says, I'm an advocate for the person that feels they have no voice. Not that Trisha doesn't have a voice, but to really stand up for what's right, to value personal growth and things like that. Like, first of all, those are the people I want in my audience. And so I would venture to say that a lot of you guys value the same things. And so I love that about you. I love that about me. Hey, moles. I just said I love something about myself. Go off, go tell somebody. They don't like it when I say anything nice about myself. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. So I think that I do value, and seeing that there are people like that in Gabbie Hanna's fandom, or were in her fandom. I'm sure there's some that are probably on the fence right now. But it's interesting. It's an interesting concept. I'm wondering, is there, some of you guys are going to hate me saying this, is there a big difference between somebody from my audience and Gabbie Hanna's stance? Obviously, yes, like a big difference, because I would venture to say, like, most of the people that watch my videos and interact online, I'm sorry, I keep adjusting this, but I really would like to kind of pivot my body a little more towards y'all. But I would venture to say that the people who follow me online and kind of speak against their behavior are people who generally play by the rules, in my opinion, and are interested in people's best interest. Gabbie Hanna stands. I think that they are I think many of them are deeply emotional people. I think a lot of them speak for advocacy. So I know that a lot of fans are having trouble with Gabbie and Trisha's pronouns and all of that, because there are people within Gabbie's not even just fandom, but like stan community that are non-binary and trans. And so I've said this a couple of times, but for Gabbie to kind of ignore Trisha's pronouns, whether Trisha is going to correct her or not, it kind of tells your non-binary and trans audience that, like, I don't see you. And surely that's not what she's trying to say to them, but that is the message that comes across, is that I don't see you, and I don't acknowledge this thing that is very important to you. Not just her fans, but anybody who sees her behavior. And I've actually talked to people, non-binary people, who have said that not only does that make them feel this way, but when we talk about Trisha and we say they, them, I've had so many comments from people that say thank you, because they feel seen. Even if we're allowed to say her, even if we're allowed to say him, or whatever, according to Trisha, I've had people say that they feel seen by just having people acknowledge those pronouns. So that makes me feel good. Makes me feel not so great that Gabbie is not recognizing them. Hey, Gemma, let me see. You're back. Thank you for the donation. Gemma says stans have a hive mind and their person can do no wrong. Fans use critical thinking and can critique the person they support. I very much agree with you. And that is why you will find me trying to be careful and in terms of distinguishing a fan from a stan. So, for instance, I used to be a fan of Gabbie Hanna's. I used to really enjoy her. This is no secret. I used to really enjoy her videos and like 2 of her songs. Of course, she took that and ran with it and said that I was like a massive deranged fan. But it's like, girl, I didn't know that much about your life. So, and I've been able to think critically. And that is actually like what started my career on YouTube, was me being like, hey, I like this girl, but there's some things she needs to hear. And so I got on camera and I talked about those things. And so, I found other people that felt very similarly to me. They're like, yeah, I like Gabbie's content, but I really don't like how she handles like dealing with other people. So that kind of tells you the difference between a fan, and we've seen, if you spend any time on Twitter, if not, you're not missing anything. Just keep it what you're doing. You're doing it right. But if you see the stan behavior, I will just say that a lot of them is just an indicator. A lot of them have multiple sock accounts that are getting banned and suspended over and over again. They don't use their real names. They don't use their real pictures. They use Gabbie's picture. And the fact that they get continually banned and suspended kind of should be an indicator of the kind of behavior they're displaying. And it's very concerning. It's not just that they have a hive mind, and it's not just that they almost worship Gabbie. And I'm not being melodramatic when I say that, because we've had a couple of them refer to her as their idol. Okay, Amber, simpleretro.com. But yeah, it's not just that. It would be one thing, like I would consider that unhealthy behavior, but it would be one thing if the leader of this group encouraged good behavior, but this person doesn't. And what I was indicating by the suspensions and the bans was just that these people are very abusive in the way they speak to people. So that's the part that's ultra concerning. And if there are any fans or stans out there that are on the fence, like, you may have burned bridges with a couple people on the internet, but there are a good bit of us who are ready to forgive you if you have had a change of heart because of recent events or whatever your reason is. At least I know me. I am open to, being friendly with you if that's what you've decided. Erica, thank you for the $10. So glad that you use the correct pronouns for Trisha. I use, that looks like another language. Ers? Pronouns? Oh, you said it there. Sie, hier, hers. We're learning something. Sie, hier, hers. And then most folks misgender me. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Erica. Thank you. And then also, that's Russian, I believe. I don't know that I can even try to pronounce that. But thank you for your €5 donation. I love that we're seeing people all over the world. That's really cool. You look amazing, so cheerful, happy I can hang out here. But should we talk next time about other interesting figures? Very mysterious, you mystery person. Not sure what you mean. If you're referring to other other influencers or something like that, I mean, you're welcome to say whatever you want in the live chat, as so long as you're not being a dick to anyone. You are very much welcome to reach out to me via email if you have a topic that you want to talk about. I will say, looks like we're going to be talking about Gabbie Hanna at least this week and probably next. Brody, nothing to say, just love you and the whole crew. We're so happy, Brody, that you're active in our Patreon now or in our Discord. And I'm so glad that you're loving it. That makes me happy, because I promised you that a while back, and then you said that promise holds up. So it makes me feel good. So let's read my next letter. We read Heather's. Now we're going to hear from Tiger. Tiger just left a quick note. They said, I used to be a Gabbie fan and I've always kind of given her the benefit of the doubt, but her escapade recently has really upset me. The way she's weaponized mental health is harmful and hurtful. I've been vocal recently about how much Gabbie's behavior has disappointed me. So I wouldn't be scared to share that. Much peace to you. Much peace to you too, Tiger. Thank you for that. I agree. And this is not something we can go too deep into. Like I said, it's what the video is about this week. But I would really, it's almost like I wish that, I almost wish that we all had like a card where we're just kind of granted at birth. Like you're allowed to use mental health terms, but like when you start abusing these things, you take that card away. I want to take away Gabbie's card. But I really hope that people have started to come around to just not listening to what Gabbie has to say when she uses these terms. Because it's you just can't trust any of it to be valid. She may be saying very valid things, but you can't know if it's valid because so many of these words have been abused and misused, and she's lied to us very overtly, very recently, that you don't know what to trust. And I know that a lot of people out there are struggling because they relate to these conditions and disorders and all that Gabbie's talking about or something similar, and it hurts them. It hurts them to see that somebody's attributing their behavior to that thing that those people identify with. And so to you, I would urge you, I don't want to give any unsolicited advice. To you, I would just say that for me and hopefully to some of my audience, because I'm trying to get this message out and I'm pushing for this movement, I don't hear Gabbie Hanna talking about mental health anymore. Like I don't listen to anything she says about mental health or neurology. I don't. So at least when it comes to me, don't worry about what she says, attributing her behavior to these different things. Don't worry at the very least that I am going to take that to mean anything. It means nothing to me. And I would venture to say there's a good bit of people in my audience that feel the same way. So if you are one of those people out there struggling with this or challenged with this that have been triggered by this or whatever, just please, I hope that some people in the chat will kind of show their solidarity with a hand raise or a heart or something like that to let you know that we're listening to you. We're not listening to Gabbie. We'll listen to you as long as you are somebody that we have not seen be abusive, or if you're somebody who has atoned for any bad behavior in the past. We hear you. It's Gabbie. We are no longer in my camp. If you're taking heed of my advice. We don't hear Gabbie anymore when it comes to mental health and neurology. Look at all those hearts. I hope that there's somebody out there that has been feeling this way. Well, I don't hope anybody's been feeling this way, but if there's somebody who's been feeling this way, I hope you see these hearts and see that all of these people are with you. And honestly, that's so many people, because so many people identify with so many of the things that Gabbie's been talking about. So we're with you and we're with each other, and we're listening to you and we're listening to each other. And first and foremost, we're listening to mental health professionals, clinicians, and not speaking over them. My goodness. And not taking our information off of blogs on Google. Okay, let me get another hashtag water gang. My goodness. I did that successfully this time. Okay, so next we have Yuki. Yuki said, Yuki, who is the host of the Sendu System. Welcome, Sendu System, and Yuki. Yuki says, I was a fan of Gabbie's sometime in 2015 to 2016, blurry due to mental illness. And I remember liking her content because I related to a lot of it, especially ones that represented anxiety or self-isolation. I had drifted from her content and found it again during quarantine in spring 2020. Then I came across Sister Zio's video featuring the right opinion about Gabbie. And I was not a fan of how she treated Jesse. I'm a survivor and was indirectly mocking my trauma as well. When it came to the tasteless cracks about medication, I couldn't support her anymore. Totally respect that, Yuki. And let me see. I'm going to scroll up really quick before I address Yuki's letter and say, Electual, you just donated $5 with no message. Thank you. That was very sweet of you. Thank you for that. I love all the hearts. I love all the hearts in solidarity, standing with those people who have been, triggered or mistreated by Gabbie Hanna directly or indirectly. And on this note of, how Gabbie has treated Jesse, I really think that her true colors started to show with the Enough podcast. I think most of you guys know that after what happened to me, I started to get a little bit closer to people like Jen, Jesse, and Alex. In fact, I think I'm going to go hang out with Jesse at the beach this weekend. Hey, Jesse, I don't know if you're watching. I know she watches some of my videos. Hey, Cassie. But that's a super important one. It's super important to recognize those people that have felt mocked or invalidated because of their own experience with SA. Let me see. Morgan Stills. Hold on, my scroll is not working. You're a friend of Yuki. Wait, I want to know about this. They are a king and a great friend. Frog King forever. Yuki, if you're watching this, Morgan thinks you're a frog king. And the rest of us are just stupid frogs. And if you get that reference, fucking love you, dude. I fucking love you anyway. But what was I saying? I'm so bad with catching my train of thoughts again. As surviving SA and then hearing Gabbie, at first when that came up November of 2020 with Herpygate came the video from Jesse. And then of course, Gabbie started to defend herself and she held tight to this idea that she never supported Curtis. It started with this whole, I never collabed with him, which in my opinion was not really something that people were as concerned about as much as it was like the way you tweeted the day of, the way you supported Curtis, the way you hung out with him and his friends on multiple occasions. People have found, oh yeah, she even addressed this in her video. If you guys are wondering what I'm doing, my thigh itches, probably from the tool. But she addressed some of these things, right? She said, like, for one thing, this tweet, she was like, oh, I remember what this tweet was about. It was Lil Wayne or something. I don't remember who, lyric. And it was beware, beware of a brokenhearted woman. And then the person was like, oh, she's brokenhearted. And it's like, no. And then she said she deleted because she didn't realize what was going on. Lies. And if you haven't seen the document that Lily Marston put together, it is brilliant. It is so helpful in understanding just a timeline. God, we stand a timeline of Gabbie's online or Twitter behavior that day. And so, sorry, I was playing Mod for a second. So you really you can tell by the context really kind of how she was responding to the stuff. And I believe the people who said they saw these tweets supporting Curtis and calling Jesse a liar. Put a pin in that. Alistair, I love you so much. Hello, Alicia. I'm sorry I'm late. I was talking with my dad. I've missed a lot. Oh my goodness, we're already at 44 minutes. You don't need to apologize to me. Absolutely not. I love having you, whether it be during the live or in the playback or wherever. So no need to apologize, but I thank you for the donation. So I got distracted. Yuki said, Alicia, I love you. I love you too. But yeah, this topic of SA and how, at first Gabbie tried to stick to her guns, and in a way, like, even though it was self-preservation, in my opinion, it still was a better look because it still kind of put out the message that we don't support, that that we aren't apologists of these types of people, right? But as the Enough podcast came out and Gabbie was hurling curse words towards people like Jesse, and more came out. I saw a Google Doc that her fans put together, and it was kind of putting a timeline together of everything that's happened between Gabbie and her bullies. And at the very top, like, her fans are aware that their relationship started with Gabbie supporting Curtis, quote unquote, from this Google Doc, not wanting to believe that he would do something like that. And Gabbie and Jesse became friends because Gabbie came around and apologized for supporting Curtis. So don't let her tell you otherwise. Chrissy says, Chrissy K-Pie. KP? I replied to your Twitter about the subject. I related to her a lot, which makes me sick now. I'm ADHD and I have a trans daughter. So for obvious reasons, I cannot stand her now. Love your content. Thank you. Not sure how old or young your daughter is, but we do have a fan out there, at least one I know, that is a trans kid. And I know that hearing people support trans people and trans kids and disavow behavior that is transphobic it's very helpful to kids like that who are going through this and trying to navigate the world and the internet, and just being inundated with so much information and bullying, quite honestly. So also, if you have the hearts in you, please send those to my friend, if you're out there. I saw you earlier, my trans kid friend. I am friends with her mom too, just so that we can kind of keep an eye on what goes on in the internet. But I hope that it's okay that I say that this friend has been dealing with bullies at school. It sucks. So send your love. You've got much cooler people over here that love you. Morgan says, we always chat while we watch your VP. They say thank you for saying hi to their whole system. Oh, yay. And on that note, I also love you. Thank you. That's so sweet. That makes me feel good. It makes me feel, the hearts again, the hearts. I am seriously going to break down crying at some point about just how much this audience, this community supports not only each other, but just other people in general. There's 1,700 of you. My goodness. Thank you. All the hearts. Yay. But let me see if I finish my note. We kind of went off on a tangent there, as I promised you tangents would happen. So yeah, the whole, I think I wrapped that up. Just the whole note about how invalidating this has been, not towards just Jesse, but anybody who's been a victim of an SA. And we've had these conversations where they say it's like 1 in 3 women. I would say it's probably more. I don't know. I'm not going to speak over experts, but I feel like those studies should be updated. But also, it's really hard to come forward. I was going to say as a woman, but I'm sure as anybody, it's really hard to come forward. Let me just say this really quick on a little tangent. We've had a lot of conversations about SA, especially when dealing with like the Vlog Squad and also James Charles kind of with that conversation. But a lot of us have struggled with not just, you hear about how, a lot of victims don't go to the police. A lot of us, not only do we not tell people that these things have happened to us, a lot of us struggle with being able to tell ourselves that we've been SA'd. And Trisha made a great point. I've parroted this before, that, our society has kind of put this notion in our minds that SA only happens if it's violent, when in fact, SA is defined by the lack of consent. And so if you've ever had somebody behave sexually towards you without your consent, that's SA, or at least sexual harassment. But anything that involves, I don't know exactly where the boundary is there, but definitely if somebody's touching you and doing things to you, that counts. And it's really hard for, oh, I see olives in time. I'm going to go back to you. I promise. I love when you come around. But it's really hard for us to even recognize that in ourselves. And so many of us, we've even talked about kind of like the whole, how many of us have gone back and done, like Demi Lovato talks about, gone back to that person and done it again to kind of take the power back. Did I spread my lipstick? I hope not. Take the power back so that it doesn't feel like you're SA'd. So you can convince yourself that you wanted to do that. And it like never happens. It never works. And I'll be honest with you, I've been there. And a lot of people that I've spoken to have been there, and it's really sad. And so, but yeah, Gabbie is invalidating a lot of us with that. So Olives in Time said, sending all the hearts and love to the trans fam, SA survivors, and people that have been affected by Gabbie Hanna. Thanks, Alicia, for bringing some love and support. Thank you, Olives in Time. They spent money to send you guys their love. I appreciate that so much. And all the hearts that just keep coming. And to my trans friends out there, to the SA survivors, to people struggling with their mental health right now, or neurodivergence or anything like that. Like, these hearts are for you. This is solidarity. And I love, love, love to see it. I love it so much. This is why I love you guys. I love my audience. So let's get to the next letter is, let's see. Oh, I didn't even finish Yuki's letter. So it said, I value mental health awareness and destigmatization of disorders. Gabbie's actions have very negatively affected me. Oh, I'm sorry. And I feel ashamed for everything I suffer with. ADHD, autism, bipolar 2, GAD, CPTSD, the list goes on. Because of her current behavior, I now wish to hide these big parts of myself because she is what people see of several communities. She's representing us in such an awful way, undoing much of the hard work for awareness and understanding, disappointed and heartbroken. Yuki, I really hope that what we were talking about earlier spoke to you. And like I said, the message still applies to that note, to what you said there, what I said earlier. Those don't hide. Don't hide any of those parts of you. Skittles and rainy days. Thank you. Thank you for the foam finger. But please don't hide. Please don't stop spreading awareness. We have decided, or at least those that have made that decision with me. Thank you, Loaf. Stay safe, y'all. Thank you. I would venture to say that several people have just made that decision with me to not pay attention to Gabbie Hanna and this message. And of course, like, it's you can only be so effective at doing that. But to ignore her and not let her represent these communities, I won't. For me, I won't let her represent any of these communities. What she says about mental health and neurodivergence means nothing to me. Von Lauren, $25. My goodness, that's too much. Thank you. It took me a long time to realize and accept that I'm non-binary, and I'm so proud of the trans and non-binary kids. You will get through the bullying and find the people that love and accept you. I manage it, and you can too. Trans rights. I really, really hope that my trans friend specifically is the one I was talking about is in this chat and sees that. It is something you get through. Kids in school are mean. They just are. It looks like I got a couple more super chats after that. Alistair said, anyone who has ever been SA'd, I am sorry. My heart goes out to you and to those who SA. I wish the worst for you. Love, Alistair, and your ability to like really put your foot down, and be like, this is where I draw the line. I love that about you. And you're unapologetic about your opinions. And you apologize a lot these days. Don't apologize. I love that. I love that you're sending your heart out to these people who deserve it. Catherine, I don't really have anything wise to say. I'm too frustrated. Oh, I'm sorry. But thank you, Heart, for being here and letting us be here. Thank you for being here. Are you kidding me? I love these. I love Tuesdays and BAP, and having you guys join me and having more audience members to show their solidarity, especially these hearts. Oh my goodness. Oh. They're everything. Okay, so somebody else said, I was a massive fan of Gabbie, made all the excuses, believed her over everyone in all the scandals. I always felt so sorry for her because of all the hate that she got and felt so much more than others for no reason until she made 100% of her personality. I smoke weed, this emoji, and seemed to only be making content that her patrons wanted and enjoyed rather than about her wider audience. It felt like you had to pay to actually enjoy her content because it was full of inside jokes and half stories from her Patreon. That's when I started spotting the signs that she was an actual shitty person and looked back on all the scandals differently. And then obviously this whole situation concreted that. Yeah, that I hadn't noticed that, but that would be super frustrating. What's even more frustrating is that, thank you, Mel. What's even more frustrating is, Sajak, we are hereby revoking Gabbie Hanna's imaginary internet license to practice medicine. Thank you. Thank you. That is what I was trying to say earlier, and I'm so glad you revoked it. With your $5 donation, you have the right. You are the commissioner of these licenses in my community. But as for these, like, the content lately and it being like, is it for her patrons only? Surely, kind of with that period where she was like smoking weed, man. I do think that in that period was that time where I said, like, I think she gave it a go. I think she was trying for a minute. But we can maybe talk about this in a little bit. But I see some super chats coming up. I'm going to get to those. But if you pay attention to kind of what people are saying online now and possibly what we're going to be talking about here soon, is that her patrons do not get what they pay for. So it's nobody's getting what they're there for. So that's just kind of like shitty all around, right? Marissa said, Gabbie was bullied, so she took that cycle of abuse and turned into a bully, and that puts a bad example out there for people like me when I watched her. Yeah, I don't know when Gabbie became a bully. We hear stories about her in high school. I don't believe that this is just like that she's been abused and so just now she's being a bully. I mean, I know that. She was my bully a year ago and since. JT says, I appreciate you talking about how SA can be difficult to recognize. It's so true and so important to understand that it takes time to reckon with. It does. Let me say this very clearly. I know I said this, I gave this message, but I want to say this very clearly. If somebody did something to you that you were uncomfortable with and you did not give them permission to do that, that is a violation of your human rights. And I know that it's difficult to process and it's probably going to make you cry or whatever, but at least know that that's not your fault. It's not your fault that happened. That person did a shitty thing because of the society we're growing up in, teaching us that the lines can be fudged. They can't. That's not your fault. So please, I hope that helps somebody just hearing it. Ray says, I love your channel and all the communities. Never been ashamed of being yourself. Thank you. There are people who love and care for you. Thank you. I so want to put out messages that are there for other people when you give that back to me. I don't want to sound like I'm such like a good person. I try to put out good messages. So thank you when you send the good messages to me. You guys are awesome. Mel said, the fact that Gabbie Hanna is doing all this harm on Mental Health Awareness Month enraged me. Totally valid. I think a lot of people are behind you on that one, Mel. Let me hop over to the next, because we are now at number 6, and we have been streaming for an hour. Granted, we were chit-chatting for a while at the beginning, but I'm going to get through all of these. Damn it. So, let's see. I said we were on number 6. So this person is anonymous. And when somebody says they want to remain anonymous, I understand that sometimes it's like a personality thing, but it also makes me worry that that it might be due to just like wanting to protect themselves, and that makes me sad. Oh, I see that. Oh no, I see that Cassie sent a super chat earlier. Does anybody have what the super chat said, or more or less Can you tell me? Does anybody in the chat remember what Cassie said? I'm going to hang tight until I see that, because that is something I want to recognize. I'm so sorry I missed that. I think Elle is going to help me out with this one. It asked about Colleen Ballinger and Gabbie Hanna both cutting their bangs. I don't know anything about that. I don't know. Maybe here's what I'll do. I'll talk to you offline about it. But thank you for the donation, Cassie. Just a journalist. Your brother would be... Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Your brother would be proud of you. I know I am. You are amazing, and you are and are making change. Love and hugs always. Thank you. I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable by crying. That is like one of the most important things to me, and it really just hits me right in the heart, and I love it. I'll let you know if you make me cry, a good cry. I love it. That's money. Of course, you spent money to send me that, and I thank you for that. But making me cry is money to me if it's for good reasons, and that's all I want to do. In order for his passing to not be in vain, I want to make sure that I am spending time here putting out good messages for people. So, Bob, I hope you hear this. And I hope that this person spoke representative of you. You're a good guy, so I'm sure you do encourage me. All right, I'm gonna move on. Love you, Bob. We'll talk later. So number 7. Let's see. Or did I ever get to 6? Let's see. Oh no, I didn't. 6 came from Anonymous. I came across Gabbie's channel in early 2018, and I found her story times very entertaining. She can be very engaging and undoubtedly has a way of telling stories and keeping the audience invested. However, after the Kenza Cosmetics, I'm so glad people are bringing up different things. It's so interesting. However, after the Kenza Cosmetics Manage Your Expectations mess, I was really turned off by her attitude. I continued to be a subscriber of hers until 2019, when the Trisha Jessie stuff happened. I had to unfollow and unsubscribe to her after that. I found it absolutely deplorable that she felt it was her place to share someone else's personal sexual history and information and then pat herself on the back about it. Her absolute lack of self-awareness or willingness to take accountability for literally anything she does makes my skin crawl. That, coupled with her insanely fragile ego, makes her think she's the smartest, most talented, most misunderstood artist in the world, and everyone is just out to get her. Just turns me off completely. I'll admit that I did continue to check in on her from time to time since unfollowing, in the hopes that she would learn and grow and change, but she never has, and only seems to get worse. I truly hope she finds the help and peace of mind she needs, because I do think she has talent and she could be great at her art, but she chooses to engage in this petty, nasty internet drama and bullying. I just can't support that kind of energy. Anonymous, like, you could run my channel. Like, you said that probably better than I ever have. Let me pop up. I see a super chat. Oh, Rachel. Wait, I lost you. Where did you go? I hate it when I scroll and then the chat goes, I don't know where it goes. And then, oh, guess what? You can click the live chat at the top and it tells you what it says. I'm an idiot. Everyone send Leash a virtual hug. Oh, thank you for the hugs. I genuinely, that comment that made me tear up, that makes me happy. For anybody that it made uncomfortable, this is about me now. No, but it makes me happy. So I super appreciate that, and the hugs and all of that. And if anybody's confused, Just a Journalist said Bob would be so proud. My brother's name is Robert. We ended up calling him Bob at some point as kind of a joke. It's like kind of a weird name for a young guy. But yeah, so if you ever hear me say Bob, funny enough, I talk about my aunt Lupe, who was close to my age. I talk about her too, but growing up, like as little kids, we all use the very Americanized versions of our names. So I was born Alicia and I became Alicia right away. My uncle Raul we called him Uncle Rawl. And so Lupe, my whole life I grew up calling her Loopy. So it's really difficult when I'm talking to you guys about her and when I'm in therapy talking about her, and I know that I have to say Lupe, and it just feels weird to me. So it's, if I talk about Bob and Loopy, that's who I'm talking about. Super chats. Mel said, I lost my sister last July tragically. Ugh. So I understand the tears. Please know you are loved and you don't have to apologize for grief. Thank you for that. I just didn't want to make anybody uncomfortable, but you're right. It's grief is such a complex thing, and it's a process that we all have to go through. And I'm so sorry to hear that. It's so rough. Like, even here 4.5 years later, I can't. 4.5, I can't sometimes. Also, Jenna says, wow, I really needed to hear that message about SA and not feeling bad. It's amazing what kind words can do. I agree with you, not patting myself on the back, but just hearing people on the internet validate the things that I need to hear, like the things I know but need to hear. I'm glad that helped you. The super chats are coming through, so I'm trying to keep up with them. Mazzy says, you're so articulate. It makes you such a pleasure to watch. My brain cells multiply. Rare. I love that. Thank you, Mazzy. That's so sweet of you. Hold on. Trying to keep up. Let's see here. That was Mazzy. We got a friendly Canadian over here, just a journalist, saying, I've reached out before, but I lost my sis in the same way you lost Bob. Oh, sorry. There goes my update reminder. He would be proud. Promise, love, don't feel the need to read. I love you. Thank you. I love you too. I love you too. And I'm so sorry to hear that. But we get each other. Tiffany, thank you for the $10. As someone who has dealt with mental illness myself and works as an outreach worker, thank you for your work. It has been very disturbing to watch how Gabbie is behaving online. I can't decide if she's faking this or not. Yeah, I agree. And it almost doesn't matter. But what we're seeing is leaning towards she is faking, or at least that's what she's telling us. And that's so disheartening, because that's almost like you're intentionally hurting people. There should be criminal repercussions for that, but we don't have criminal repercussions against lots of mental torture. Not enough. Alistair, Alicia, I'm sure your brother is proud of you. Stay true to yourself and never let anyone put you down. Thank you, Alistair. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I love how much my brother really does kind of give me the strength to carry on. My brother gives me the strength to be vulnerable in front of people, and to know that even if people see that as weakness, I'm going to tear up again, because I remember him being like this. My brother would cry. He would cry. And he was tough enough, but he would cry. He would let you know when he was upset. And so I love being able to cry and show my vulnerabilities in front of my audience. And so I recognize some people think that's weakness, but then you see me over time and you realize, no, that's just my process. And I appreciate those of you who appreciate that. Loaf said, I got to leave and do homework. Love you. Keep it up. This community is so positive and amazing. I love this community too. It's awesome. Thank you, Loaf. And we'll see you next time. I'm going to read the next one real quick. It's a short one. Kind of. Claudia says, I was a fan of Gabbie since her story times and really rooted for her music career back in the day. I started to think differently after the Kenza Cosmetics debacle, but stayed subscribed because it might be a one-time thing. However, after she moved to her house, I started seeing more entitlement and arrogance from her, and she became really annoying to me. So I slowly stopped watching videos and eventually unsubscribed. Then my suspicions were confirmed with her actions. The biggest disappointment for me was that I really empathized with her and even saw myself in her struggles, being loud, being able to turn simple anecdotes about gym memberships into a whole story to entertain my friends, depression, anxiety. I even am in the process of figuring out if I have ADD, to the point where I still to this day have intrusive thoughts like, what if you're like Gabbie in everything? You're not. If you're writing this, you're not. What if you're also arrogant, entitled, self-victimizing, but you can't see it, and it's fucked with my brain at times. I really want to see her succeed and make her dreams come true, but now I'm just so angry. I just want for karma to do its thing and pay back the pain she's put so many others through. Anyway, sorry this was too long. Thanks for your time. Love your channel. Thank you. Thank you for loving my channel. A few things I really like about this. Let me just check the chat and make sure everything's okay. Okay, cool. I'm going to do a really quick check on Discord. There might have been another. Oh yeah, I saw that one. Okay, I think we're good. Guys, let me know if there's anything else that I'm missing. But oh, looks like I missed one from Julia Sutton. Your heart is so beautiful to see displayed. Heart, heart, heart you. Heart you too. Thank you, Julia. And thank you, Leah, for bringing that to my attention. I love that you guys helped me out in that way. Hey, Caitlin. After all this, how can Gabbie Hanna Social Blade still be in the green? P.S. Love your channel. Thank you. Well, it's definitely declining. So that's good, right? Karma, as Ashley said, karma will come for her. We don't need to worry about that so much. We can voice our opinions for now. But karma, well, things come around. Like what goes around comes around. You can't get away with this behavior to trend or for whatever reason and just like not have consequences. They will come. But I wanted to talk about some of the things that this person noted here. For one, the Kenza Cosmetics debacle, like that was obviously annoying because she, I would say, accidentally scammed her fans, but will not take ownership of even certain mistakes. So telling her audience after like getting faulty brushes or not getting them at all, manage your expectations a little. That's so rude. That's so, you're talking down to people who are supporting you by spending money on to your sponsors. My goodness. Lisbeth says, thank you for being such a powerful voice for positivity and ally for young trans, non-binary, and or gay youth. You're incredible. Thank you. Thank you, Lisbeth. I mean, I feel like that's got to be the standard, right? It should be. Kaz said, please don't apologize for crying on live. Your emotions just go to show how big and deep your heart is, and it's so beautiful. Thank you. Lil Bruno says, I'm not a comfortable chair, but I just wanted to say I appreciate your words and messages. Thank you, Lil Bruno. I won't put you on the spot too much, but I do appreciate that. Faye, you're back. Hey, Faye. I'm so sad for the fan who felt ashamed by Gabbie Hanna. I am 33 and grew up in Ireland with dyspraxia and dyslexia. Not something I was encouraged to talk about, but I hope they're doing better. Me too. And I will say you're not alone in worrying about those things, especially kind of just with it's almost like a Harry Potter Voldemort psychic connection. We were just recently talking about this in book club, but I almost feel like I have that with her. There are certain things and that might be what drew me to her is I also see things in myself or things that I used to go through, the qualities that I used to have in her. And I think that's what drew me to her, and how entertaining she was, of course, drew me to her as well. But since all this has gone down, sometimes when I am in those moments of negative self-talk, and part of this is due to the things that she has said to me and what her fans have said to me, sometimes I wonder too, or just when somebody wants to be mean to me, they'll refer to me as Gabbie. And so I wonder too, like, oh God, am I the same? If you're wondering those things, you're probably not. There was something else you said I want to get to in just a moment. Gemma, she'll be sad if this is the legacy of her career in 10 years. It'll all be her fault for thinking trolling was a good form of entertainment. Right? Didn't Trisha teach us that like trolling as of like 4 years is done? Like it's not cool anymore. It's not cool. We don't troll, especially to hurt people. Good God. But yeah, something else Kenza Cosmetics, that's kind of a no-brainer. But something a couple people have said is that they really kind of were turned off by Gabbie once she moved into her house. And even at the beginning of this podcast, I was like, what's that about? Like, there's nothing wrong with getting a house. And like, she seemed happy about the house. So why is it that so many people, including myself, were kind of turned off by her content? Like, for some reason, we enjoyed the cleaning series, even if it was lazy, in her little dinky apartment. I'm sorry if I say dinky, because look at it compared to her house now. And she was just so much more entertaining then. And I have a theory. And I wonder if having this like the apartment that she was living in, it was in no way like modern, top of the line, renovated or glamorous or anything like that, right? It was just like a very like standard apartment that looks like it's probably, hasn't been renovated in 20 years or so. And it may be that having that be where she filmed her videos was humbling in a way, because we've started to see that Gabbie Hanna cares so much about symbols of status to define a person's worth. So your numbers, whether or not you're on the New York Times bestseller list or charting on Billboard or all these things that she should be proud of, but don't make her better than anyone else. I think she has been talking to us as if she's better than those people who don't have those things, who don't have a blue check mark next to their name. And lots of stuff like that. So I'm wondering if finally moving out of that little apartment and into this house it's a nice house. I'm wondering, because she talked about it so much, I got my boy, and that was around the time she started dating Peyton, right? So it's almost like, for me personally, having a boyfriend I don't feel like in any way makes me better than other people. Like I'm also like fiercely independent. So if I didn't have a boyfriend, I love Jake so much, I'm not letting you go. But if I'd never met him, I think I'd be perfectly fine, like doing all this by myself. But she seems to see these things as like symbols of status. And it's like, now I have a house and now I have a boyfriend, so I can be really cocky. It's a theory. That's my theory. Wonder if it holds. I wonder if you guys feel the same. You need to tell me how to pronounce your name. Said, as someone who, let me see. Let me just click these at the top. As someone who, after 27 years, is finally in counseling and in the process of being diagnosed, I just find her behavior so deplorable. Exactly. All you have to do is be in good therapy, which not everybody has access to that, but Gabbie definitely does. All you need to do is be in some sort of good therapy, counseling, to see that this behavior is terrible, and to get better. Like, why does she not want to be better? That's what I want to know. It's Nat. Thank you for the $10. As someone who used to be a fan for years, who is trans and currently going through adult ADHD testing, it really hurts to see her doing this. It really does make me question my validity sometimes. Nat, please, I beg of you to hear and just repeat it in your head over and over again. Most people are not listening to Gabbie Hanna and what she's saying about ADHD or the way she's speaking to trans people. Like, that's not representative of most people. Don't doubt yourself. At least don't doubt yourself. It's all her. Blame it on her. She's the reason that you feel that way. It's not anybody else, and we're not listening to her. Jabami Gorlami says it's because she admitted to make money for work. Maybe it could be a money thing. Jay, say I love you and all my fellow wrenches. I love you too, and the wrenches and everybody else in the chat. I love the people who are in the chat hate watching me for hanging out and just like at least listening to this message. I appreciate all of you guys who are here. Let's get to the next letter. Number 8. This is a quick one. I had been a fan of Gabbie since before her Out Loud song, and I really enjoyed it and still do enjoy her videos of her old apartment. But once she moved into her house, I really felt like she started to change. I think for me, what got to me started to see her in a different light and understand why other people didn't like her was Jesse's video, Gabbie Hanna Needs to Be Stopped, as well as some of your early videos on her, since they allowed me to think a little more critically instead of just blindly defending her at length. I appreciate you making that note about my videos. That's all I ever wanted to do, was be critical but fair as somebody who liked her. But yeah, we're seeing this trend. I mean, of course, the house, and leaving Joe behind, or Joe leaving her behind, and the whole Herpygate and the Jesse Smiles, like that all kind of happened at the same time. So that makes sense. Gemma, you're being too generous. My dog needs to be walked. Love this as always. I'll be checking back in to hear what you think about the leaked Discord chat. We'll see if we have some time to talk about that. If not, there's always next week. This thing is ongoing, dudes, and I am not ashamed to talk about Gabbie Hanna. This is the channel people go to to get opinions on Gabbie Hanna. Like, I can say that much. So let's see. I need hashtag water gang. Number 9, Megan says, I do not like what I see. I don't recognize this person. I have either matured greatly or some kind of switch has flicked somewhere. I've gone back to past videos and realized that the stories were over-exaggerated or made up on the spot, which I can appreciate for comedic value. It was also relevant back then. But what I do not understand is the lack of empathy. There's no learning ladder, so to speak. She seems to be incapable of learning from her mistakes and recognizing those mistakes. It's truly sad and quite frightening to watch. I've seen the TikToks, and quite frankly, I feel like I shouldn't be watching. I feel like I'm watching someone snap right in front of me. I'm disappointed at how she addresses mental illness. I don't know what to believe anymore. The story didn't add up and properly every time she has said the words gaslighting and manipulative. Yeah, it sounds almost like, and I'm no professional, but it almost sounds to me like you matured like a normal person and she didn't. When I say normal person, I just mean people, good people who are trying. I know that that's such like a stigmatized word and all that. I don't mean like people without any sort of mental or illness. There's nobody out there like that, or they're very few and far between. So when I say normal, I mean people that have mental health issues. I mean people that have trauma. I mean people that have flaws, but who generally have good intentions with the world, right? And it sounds like you had that. And right now she's not displaying that. Von Lauren says, wealth and power don't change people. As Randy Savage said, it just makes them comfortable to show who they really are. That's kind of the impression I got. Interesting. That's kind of the impression I got. And you said it better than I did. Yeah, I agree with you. It's not something I've given a lot of thought to, but it just goes to show you, because what I was saying about how, like, the money, the signs of money, like, the house and having a boyfriend and things like these different status symbol things. It's not that I think that having those changed her. It's making me wonder, how insecure did she feel about these areas of her life prior to obtaining those things? That's kind of what I meant when I was like, maybe that apartment kind of humbled her. A lot of us would feel like fine, like living in whatever apartment and be the very same. A lot of YouTubers move into big houses and are the same. That goes to show you how that wasn't like, a symbol of a person's worth. So I agree with you. Samantha K says, I feel like Gabbie reaching out to H3 was beyond disrespectful and violation of boundaries. She was trying to trigger Trisha, and that's real abuse. Yeah, it was totally inappropriate. Don't reach out to somebody's, like, not even friends at this point, family, while you're actively bullying that person. I think she was like delusionally trying to get them on her side, which, like, Gabbie, that's never going to happen. Alistair, again, you're so generous. I am someone who has dyspraxia and have struggled in life and is always working if someone is truly a friend or taking pity on me. It's always worrying if someone is truly a friend or taking pity on me. Oh, I'm sorry that that's something you worry. I feel like a lot of us probably to some extent go through feelings like that. I hope that you're able to be honest with people and let them know. I think one thing that hey Hector, I think one thing that I struggle with is like when my anxiety is kicking in for me, or even my grief and things like that, I worry that I am bothering people by being who I am, or feeling the things that I feel that in a sense I can't really control. But I've learned to be a more direct communicator. I'm not giving you advice. I'm so sorry. I'm just kind of like talking through this for myself. But I've learned to be more direct and just tell people what I'm feeling in the moment and let them tell me what they think. So I hope that you worry less over time. Grace Griffin says, Gabbie's inability to admit any wrongdoing is honestly one of the more telling parts of all this. Her actions are always completely justified. I've said that too. I completely agree with you. There's always a justification. I promise you. And justification and rationalization is not necessarily a good thing. It's oftentimes not a good thing. We talk about it a lot in sober communities about how when we're sick, it's easy to find ways to rationalize why we should be allowed to engage in sick behavior. Haley says she favored her high-paying fans. As someone who was poor as a child, she would be more understanding about her lower-paying fans' financial situations and not care more about the more well-off ones. Yeah, that's very true. I frankly think that she might be kind of either lazy or just selfish and not wanting to put much effort into any of this. I wouldn't take it personally, but you're right. Like she should. She talks so much about it. She should be considerate of that. Good point. And thank you for the $9.99. Marissa says, I am starting to think that she has always been this way and not going through something. She is comfortable now, so the mask has fallen. I've heard a lot of people say that too. And I don't know which way I think. I look back at some of her more charming days where I still think she was brash, brusque. She was still shoving cameras in her enemies' faces at parties and being a dick. And I'm sorry, I think that she's being a dick when she does that, even though we do not stand rice gum here. But putting a camera in your enemies' faces and forcing them to be friendly, or else they're going to look bad, right? On camera, what she did to Dom DeAngelis made me like Dom DeAngelis. I don't even know what you're saying. Oh yeah. But, so I kind of got the vibe that like she's had mean girl tendencies, but otherwise it was like kind of a normal person. What she's going through now, I think maybe, I don't know, maybe it's pent up or what, but it's definitely a good, okay, here's what I think. It's definitely the compliment to this mask that she, like you said, the mask that she was putting on, where she was like, I care so much about the world, and your friends should make you feel like the best person in the world all the time. And I just like, I'm so thoughtful, and I'm like crying about the world and humanity and God and blah, blah, blah. And trying to be like all like small and diminutive and delicate with Trisha. It just felt that was so phony to me. So phony. So in that sense, I agree with you totally. Jamie says, I think Gabbie may be a covert narcissist. It's known more by a perpetual victim complex and underhanded manipulation rather than blatant egoism. I'm not sure what your background is, but it sounds like you know more about this stuff than I do. But yeah, I don't want to talk too much about somebody's potential diagnoses, especially like if I'm not a mental health professional and I don't know you are. But just in terms of victim complex and egoism, I do think that the victim complex probably, yeah, it's definitely played up more than anything else. That she definitely has a Fraggle Rock. She definitely has Fraggle Rocks living in her house. A fragile ego. Let's see. Abby says, have you seen the note Rachel Oates put out on her YouTube channel with her doggo lessons book attached? Thank you for bringing that up. I want to take a moment. I told Rachel I would do this because it's made me so angry. Rachel did not ask me to do this. I reached out and I was like, this pissed me off. I'm going to address it. Abby, thank you for spending $5 to remind me of that, if that's what you were trying to do. I hope that I'm not missing anything in Discord. Did I miss a super chat from Caitlin? After all this, how can Gabbie Hanna Social Blade still be in the... Okay, yeah, we did address that. So to Rachel Oates, I want to take a moment. I don't want to lose this next super chat. Let me just read it really quick. My son and myself are neurodivergent. She is hurting a community that has fought to be heard. I hope her trolling doesn't undo any of that. Don't let it. Don't let it. We're not going to let it. Like, please, I hate to say, like, please send hearts, but I almost like, I want to hear that feedback from the audience and to see those emojis. Like, please send hearts if you are of the same mindset that we're not going to listen to Gabbie Hanna when it comes to matters of mental health and neurodivergence. It's just, she is not a source. She is not a representation. Don't stop fighting. Don't hide. But to go back to the whole Rachel Oates situation, Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for those people who are putting the hearts out there. But yes, so there's a clip going around. Thank you for the hearts, yay! Where Rachel says is reading kind of like part of Gabbie's poetry, and she makes a comment, and then she said, "It doesn't make you something something. It just makes you a bitch on the internet." And that's where the clip cuts off, and that's been blasted on the internet with people saying like, "Rachel needs to address this," or like people who are critical of Gabbie Hanna, address this. Here's Rachel calling Gabbie a bitch. And at first, like, I'll be honest, at first glance, I'm like, that was like a passing comment. That's nowhere near as insidious as what Gabbie's been doing. Thank you for the continued hearts, you guys. I hope that Emily sees that, and that helps. I hope that helps that family. But what's really insidious is that clip was completely taken out of context by being cut off. It's not even like she went on to a different statement. That sentence was cut off. What Rachel said was, it makes you a bitch. She said something like, it just makes you a bitch on the internet like me. And then she laughed. She's like, ha ha, I'm just kidding. She was self-deprecating. And then also said just kidding, as in like, none of us are bitches on the internet. That was just a bit of self-deprecating humor. That was not her calling Gabbie Hanna a bitch. I resent that. I disavow it. If you guys are cool, thank you for the hearts. I'm going to read the next note. I won't lie. I followed you and other anti-Gabbie people on Twitter for at least a year, and I wasn't even sure why. I thought it was a harsh narrative pointed her way, and I felt the critiques weren't quite fair. I even thought Rachel Oates' book was a little too far. I love her music. I really enjoyed a lot of her videos. What really changed my perspective has been this whole experience, watching Gabbie call other women bitches, snap on others, be wishy-washy on if she's trolling or not. I feel the wool has been pulled over my eyes. It all fell into perspective for me. It has been a jarring experience, and I can't quite pinpoint what happened, but I know that I can't go back to liking Gabbie anymore. I don't like who she is as a person, and I'm shocked. Oh, I lost you. It took so long to figure out. I don't think you should be too hard on yourself. I think Gabbie really did have a lot of her fans convinced that she wanted to be a good person. She wanted to be good. And not only that, but if you were in the fandom, depending on how deep in the fandom you were, I'm going to say this. I think that her closest fans, her stans, are indoctrinated. So I don't know how close you were to that, how possibly indoctrinated you are. And when you are indoctrinated, that's so hard to think for yourself. It's so hard to see your favorite behaving badly and saying like, this is not okay. And so I applaud you for being able to think for yourself and recognize that. And it's absolutely, I think if this was the moment for you, I think that makes perfect sense. Prior to that, you could believe that she was trying. Sweet Nova B says, I've had friends like Gabbie Hanna, and they are exhausting, like the kind you have to distance yourself from for your own mental health. Yeah, that's what I was doing. After 2 or 3 days of talking to her, I was like, my whole life has been Gabbie Hanna these past couple of days, and I'm sick of it. I'm done. I just don't want to talk anymore. And that's what kind of sparked our whole thing. So I've heard a lot of people say very similar things to what you just said, that she reminds them of people in their lives that they have to stay away from. Sage Jack says, I even kept what was after Rachel saying like me, just kidding, in the corrected video, because she went on to compliment Gabbie Hanna on the poem in question. That is so shitty of that fan that did that. Thank you, Sajak, for pointing that out. She went to compliment Gabbie after that. I almost said something bad. Yeah, that was shitty of that fan to do that. And it was shitty of Gabbie to perpetuate it and support it. It's all shitty. 11, she's dragging people down with her BS that she says is fake and for attention, but I think it's only partially true. Gabbie is a mean girl playing with people's mental health. And all the while, she's dismissing any other neurodivergent people who don't have ADHD. She's literally telling people who have different brains they don't, using her ADHD as an excuse for literally everything she says online, and considers herself a walking case study for the world, all because of ADHD. No, I don't. Like I said, I agree with you. It's frustrating. She is not the poster child for any of this. Don't agree. She's being a bully and mental health issue. She drove people to almost committing and almost going back on drugs. And yeah, she's done a lot of things that have pushed people to really unhealthy places, really bad and fragile places. And this person said they threw out her poetry books too. They aren't good and they're taking up too much space. Extremely disappointed in the way she's been acting. She shouldn't have a platform to influence young people if she's going to act like a loose cannon all the time. Totally agree. Anonymous said, when the drama started, I was praying that everyone was in on something and that Gabbie was just playing a character. That's how crazy this whole thing is. It was shocking, to say the least. She was saying about what she was saying about the other creators, the lies she was throwing out. They're for fun. I'm a huge fan of Trisha, so I was keeping up with everything, and the things Gabbie was saying just weren't adding up. Not once that I know of has Trisha said anything necessarily mean towards Gabbie since after their podcast episode. If Gabbie says she's fine, then I guess all we have to do is believe her. But look at this. Her actions are not reflecting the person she put out there for her supporters to see. Yeah, not for the past several years. Agreed. And I think as long as she keeps telling us she's fine, especially we don't attribute this to anything mental health related. Like, this is just her being a mean, cruel, sadistic person. BB Bandiero says, I feel sad that she's clearly in a bad place. She needs an unbiased perspective in her life, aka a therapist, because right now it seems like an echo tunnel. Yeah. Or I feel like last year that's what it was. This year I feel she seems alone. Even when you see Peyton here and there, she still seems alone. So I only have so much sympathy for her, and it's weird because like I rarely lose sympathy for people, but I don't feel as bad for her as you do, I don't think. But good on you for having that still. Cambria says, my ex is a diagnosed narcissist. I endured narcissistic abuse. I'm not diagnosing anyone, but Gabbie's behaviors scarily similar. Familiar to me. Yeah. And I think that's fair to say. If you know that you've experienced that and you're like, hey, this looks like this, I think it's fair for you to wonder if that's what's going on. And I think a lot of people in the audience have experienced that too. I'm sorry that you went through that, dude. God. Let's see. Somebody named Leah, not Blue Wrench Leah, but a different Leah, started watching Gabbie's videos in like 2015 and stopped watching Gabbie around 2017. The reason I stopped is kind of complicated. I was in a bad depression at the time and in a place where I was pretty sick of being single and feeling kind of stagnant in my life. I related to Gabbie a lot. She talked about dating a lot in her videos at the time, stuff that I felt myself at the time. I think there were a few videos featuring this neighbor who clearly had a really big crush on her, and I could tell that she was leading him on. I didn't like this. I also noticed at the time how condescending she was to her friends, and just as she got bigger on YouTube, I saw her become more egotistical. She also had a lot of things I wanted at the time, and I didn't like how jealous I felt rather than entertained. Plus, she had moved more to vlog content, which I didn't like in general. So you had a lot of reasons. That's interesting about the neighbor that had a crush on her. I don't know that I have thought much of that, but I do remember watching the video and being like, okay, why, if she could tell this guy likes her and she's trying to avoid him, like, why is she inviting him into her house? Okay, I thought I missed a super chat. So yeah, I'm curious as to what that was about. I'm apt to believe that I'm prone to believe that Gabbie probably enjoyed the attention. That's just who I've come to know her to be, as somebody who enjoys the attention, even if she personally does not like feel attracted to the person. So that makes sense. Like, I'm not going to say that's true. I don't know, but it makes sense that could be what was going on. KC says, I thought her vines were more comical before I realized how ungodly problematic they were in 2019. Before her weird megalomaniac behaviors, I watched her videos. I listened to and covered her music, and hell, I bought her shit ass poetry. Casey, I like your attitude. In 2020, I tried really, really hard to separate art from the artist. Her release of Call Me Crazy rubbed me in such a wrong way that even listening to it the first time made my jaw hit the floor. She's actively attacking Trisha. Now, while being an active duty trans man, Trisha did fully offend me with their "I'm trans" video, but I have watched their arc and have come to respect them. Love that. Also, as a person suffering from a mental health disorder outside of gender dysphoria, I'm bipolar too. At first, I fully believed Gabbie might be bipolar or borderline. As I've continued to watch her, she has dived into fully into megalomania. Thank you for using that word. That's the word I have attributed to her a number of times because nothing else fits better. She's the main character in her own story, but she's the victim that will overcome her non-existing villains. Her blaming ADHD for bad behavior just furthers the stigma of people with mental health disorders. It's even more dangerous for people who truly have adult ADHD will not get diagnosed properly because they see her actions and say there's no way I can have that because I'm not acting like that. She's brought more harm to those who suffer from trauma and is creating more and more trauma for followers, stands, and everyone in between. Yeah, you're totally right. I hadn't exactly thought of that, but true. Like there are people who are going to watch this and be like, oh, whatever Gabbie is displaying and describing is not what I have. So like might not get assessed like I was going to. So please just go out in whatever online communities where people are talking about this. Please spread the message that Gabbie Hanna does not represent any of the communities. That somebody who is not well just is not in a position to educate like she wants to do. Let's see, 15. So we only have two more. Carrie said, I believe I subscribed to her shortly after her first scandal when she was accused of joke stealing. Then came the other scandals and dramas, most of which I sided with Gabbie, but some, I think in hindsight, I decided to turn a blind eye to, which is a stand behavior that I feel guilty about. I chose to believe her during the whole Rice Gum drama. Trisha STD drama. I took her side during the monster stuff. Kenza Cosmetics, Jessie Smiles, the girl who OD'd in her high school, Bianca. I genuinely thought and still think in some ways that she explained her side very well and rationally, so took her side once more. Then after the whole shadow banning fiasco last year and her breakdown, I believed, like many others, that finally she would move past all that and just be a content creator again instead of a source of scandal. Boy, were we wrong. I can't really tell you why this recent drama was a very large straw that broke the camel's back. Throughout the following drama that ensued with Oscar, and Angelica, I came to learn that Gabbie is not a misunderstood loudmouth. She's just a bad person. I truly feel sorry for her. I wish I could rewind the clock 5 years to when her content was good, and she wasn't threatening to fuck our parents. Nice note to leave that on. True, very true. And I have a lot of respect for people who like she did have a way of explaining things that made it seem like, especially when she's lying, right? When she's lying very passionately, it's really easy to believe her. And I think the whole shadow ban thing really started to was the beginning of her downfall. So yeah, I applaud you for being able to, again, this may be just a situation where perhaps you grew up and she didn't. I have no idea how old you are. But I applaud you for thinking differently on this stuff. And then lastly, we have Jen. I have followed Gabbie for years and was a religious follower of her content, and I've been a fan of her music as well until last week. After this last grab for attention and power, I'm having to step away from her channel. I wasn't really into her last bit of content with her using smoking as a personality trait. It just felt like she was trying really hard and didn't feel authentic. But I stayed subscribed nonetheless to support her. I felt connected to her because we have very similar upbringing. The thing is, when you experience this level of family abuse, you have two options: carrying on the legacy and becoming your abuser, or doing the work and ending the cycle of abuse. Really good point. After this last stint on Twitter and TikTok, it's very clear that she's carrying on the abusive behavior. Yeah, I agree entirely. So many of us are trying to undo undo the trauma that we experienced growing up. Well, I say, like, kind of jokingly, like, we're all a little fucked up. Our parents did their best, but they, their parents didn't do a perfect job. And sure as hell, their parents didn't do a perfect job. We're learning more and more. We're getting better at this stuff, but we're all dealing with something. And it all comes down to, you either leave a negative or a positive footprint on this world when you leave. And that, I think, all comes down to whether or not you decide to work on yourself and those things that could be destructive. And Gabbie is just like, I would say a bull in a china shop, but Jake has told me that he heard somewhere that bulls are very careful in china shops. But as the saying goes, she's a bull in a china shop. She's creating destruction wherever she goes. And to me, that is what I don't call people good or bad, but that is somebody who, unless something changes very fast, that somebody who's going to leave a negative footprint on the world. And it's awful. All is in time says a big debate surrounds diagnosing people online, and I think it's never appropriate. Observing traits, in Gabbie Hanna's case, narcissistic traits is allowed. Okay, yeah, I struggle. I've said this on Twitter. I understand that you can talk about narcissistic behavior and traits without actually like diagnosing somebody. So I'm trying to go easier on people who use that word, but I don't want that word to be loaded with stigma. I don't want that to be an insult. Please, let's not use that as an insult. Please not be like, oh, that's so narcissistic of you. Ew. That's how Gabbie uses it. If you want to talk about just behavior from a mental health standpoint, I understand that. That makes sense. So Nova 1999 is too much. Don't spend that much money on me. In 2017, I subscribed to her channel after Peter Mon shouted her out. After binge watching several story times, I noticed she told the same stories as other creators. I just had a bad taste in my mouth. I subbed a few days later. Unsubbed, maybe, is what you meant. Yeah, looking back on those story times, it's like, how much of this is actually true? Well, yeah. So I see what you're saying. It's just, it's just icky. Like I said, icky. It's just icky. Thank you, Megan. Megan didn't say anything. Just gave me a $5 donation. Thank you. Well, I have to figure out what to call you. Alexei. I'm gonna set off everybody. I'm so sorry if I set off your. Oh, you know what? They said I want to be petty. Gabbie thinks she's a celebrity, yet I guarantee no celebrity even knows who she is. That's the kind of petty I'm here for. I agree. There is a story that I want to share from a former fan. Hopefully you tag me in the story. I want to find it. But you have probably heard Haley's story. And I'm looking in my Discord to see if I can find the story, because she put it very succinctly, and I appreciated that. If anybody can find that, I know it was in the mod chat. If you could copy and paste that for me, tag me, that would be really awesome. While I kind of introduce what's going on. Abby clarified the super chat. I unfortunately can't read all that right now. I'll read it afterwards if that's okay. Okay. Thank you. So thank you so much. Was it Blue or whoever linked me to Haley's story? Haley, if you watched Sid's video, there were some you see here and there floating around the Discord messages that were leaked from Gabbie's Discord, but also some group chats where she's talking to some of her higher tier patrons, and she's essentially telling them to go out and harass this person. She sent this ex fan, who was one of her moderators, I believe, a hate mob. So this is so that's all to say that you've probably seen like some of those screenshots, and here we have the story from the person who was actually targeted in that instance. So She says, I was a mod for Gabbie and she treated us like crap until I was no longer a fan. She got a hold of private chats of mine and shared them and kicked me from her server. And I made a Google Doc of my experience with her and in the server and shared it in her Discord, which she saw and came to my friend's Discord and threatened to sue us for slander and then called us crazy for thinking she would sue us. I remember this. I remember seeing this and said we were gaslighting her. Who's gaslighting whom? I'm sorry. I'm sorry to like stop in the middle of your story, but you like Gabbie did try to intimidate her young, several like underage fans, saying that like you're going to receive a letter in the mail. If you're under 18, then your parents are going to get it. And all these people were panicked. And some of the patrons like actually spoke up and they're like, are you really like, you're really going to intimidate these kids? And she was like, of course, I'm not going to sue anyone. That would be crazy. So tell me who's gaslighting whom? Who's gaslighting? Certainly not those kids who are being intimidated. Like, fuck that. God. That summarizes her as a person. Let's see. I then posted it on Twitter, coming forward with everything she did to me, where she sent two direct links to my Twitter with 4 inactive followers to a private Twitter group asking for help against me, and then also to her Discord asking them if she was a bad person. Asking your fans if you're a bad person. Her fans followed the link and attacked me for months, telling me to get rid of herself, disappear, catch COVID and pass, made fun of my looks, and even said my boyfriend has no standard being with me. That's awful. And at one point, she was even liking their comments and unliking them to encourage them, but not be caught as encouraging them. My God. She spreads lies about me to her fans and encourages them to spread the lies further. And her fans still check in on my account to make sure I'm not talking about her and what she did to me. That is so shitty. That's so shitty. So here in the coming days, you're probably going to see a good bit of that situation. Haley said it's okay if I say her name. She's in our Patreon now as of today. Welcome. But yeah, at least that little group chat that we see is about Haley. And I'm so sorry that Gabbie did that to you. And the fact that and like these things that they're telling her to off herself, telling her to catch COVID, telling her that her boyfriend has no standards. This is par for the course with these stands. They've, like I said, indoctrinated. They might very well be very decent people if they were separate from all of this, but they learn that the nastier they are. I'm going to check the chat really quick. Oh, there are, am I missing super chats? Okay, maybe not. Oh, Haley again. Want to add, only 7 people on the server were part of the Google Doc share. She threatened everyone there instead, most of which were minors. So dumb, so bad, so dumb, so irresponsible, so mean. Just so many words. Alexis, my name is Alexis. Thank you. I enjoy you saying it funny. Alexa, look at the way. That's like Max, I missed yours. Genuinely started watching Gabbie Hanna because I struggled with an ED, and she was the first content creator I'd seen talking about her issues with food and body. Interesting. I would say that she's probably not displaying the best behavior, to representative of that community, but I don't want to say too much about that. I'm missing something. Lover Event says, as a victim of narcissistic abuse myself, this entire situation is very triggering, as what she's doing reminds me of what was done to me. Kind of ironic. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's ironic. It's unfortunate. It's sad. I think this happens a lot. And perhaps we're attracted to people who do these things over and over again. They are cyclical, but it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not right. And you can speak on behalf of the people who have been victims of this. And I hope you do. I hope that you speak loud and proud. Or if you don't, I just hope that you find your healing in whatever way that You need to. Megan says, I can't imagine someone would be good at remaining impartial / self-aware after making a career out of storytime sensationalizing everyday moments, right? And calling everybody psycho this and psycho that. Like if she wants to claim that people called her names or were critical of her before this, she called Jesse a psycho bitch, didn't she? Oh, you're psychotic. I don't see any tags of mine in the moderator chat, so I'm hoping that I'm doing okay. But what I was saying about the Haley situation, yeah, these stands I think are indoctrinated. They say the nastiest things, and I've noticed, just like Haley was telling us, the liking these comments, and also she follows these people when they're loud enough. They're being conditioned. Gabbie stands who are hate watching, you're being conditioned. No, that's not. I'm not going to be able to deprogram anyone with this live, but especially somebody who doesn't want to be deprogrammed. But yeah, anytime somebody's mean and nasty, Gabbie will like those or follow that person or whatever, or do what I would call is like handing out her tokens of approval, which encourages this behavior. And so, and people see that. And so, even those who are not being noticed still see that model of behavior, and they do the same, and they try to be louder and louder. And when I say louder, I mean meaner. I mean more abusive. And a lot of us have seen that over the past year. Clearly, Haley saw a lot of it. And it's the sickest thing. So I don't believe Gabbie when she tries to claim that she tells her fans not to go out. You don't, Gabbie. In fact, you told them to go after Haley, and you told them to go comment on my tweet and defend you as they see fit. And you know how they defend you. So Itaku, just $4.99 just because. Thank you. So yeah, that was my big finale X-Fan story. I wanted to share Haley's experience with you because you are going to be probably seeing more about her story here and there, and it's a little confusing. But at least kind of like that much about what was going on around Haley. So yeah, we hey, I covered all of those under 2 hours. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I needed to remember to talk about. I did clarify, run and tell your friends, Rachel Oates did not call Gabbie Hanna a bitch. She said, it makes you a bitch on the internet like me. Ha ha ha, I'm just kidding. She was talking about herself. And she was kidding about herself. It was self-deprecating humor. Really fucking innocuous. They will make mountains out of molehills if they think it's going to defend Gabbie Hanna, and there's no defense at this point. Thank you, Clara. $5 just because you're beautiful. Thank you. So yeah, this has been a ride, dude. And like I said, if this is still going on, if this conversation is still going on, people are talking about cult-like behavior, and I have some content. So if that's something you guys want to see, I've been sitting in a very unflattering way. I mean, feel free to shoot me emails. I have screenshots. What I wanted to note was that what happened last summer around a lot of people, obviously with Haley and me and other people, is just now coming to the forefront, and that's frustrating. But we're just now seeing it. So I don't necessarily know if I'm going to stop talking about Gabbie Hanna anytime soon. I thought for sure we were going to move on to a different topic here soon, as like her behavior started to calm down. But now that people are talking about what happened last summer, there's so much there that I wanted the world to know that I did not have a loud enough megaphone for. And so if you've seen me over the past year talking about Gabbie Hanna too much, it might be because I haven't fully processed what happened to me. And I would love to do that by sharing more information with you guys. So I'm going to be talking about her, of course, in this week's video. I'm going to be sharing a clip of my experience as the hate mob was happening. Please, with all due respect, please don't treat me with kid gloves for sharing that. I mean, if you want to express your support, please do, but please don't tell me not to do the thing that I've already thought about. And I will likely be sharing the entire video with you guys coming up here soon. So that's what I got for you. The 8 o'clock bells are tolling. I can hear them. They're so beautiful. And yeah, that's the stories are the fan stories are probably going to keep rolling in. Alexis, the cult thing worries me because as I've kept up, it is the same, like four to five people writing so hard for her, and it worries me seeing how much they believe her. Yeah, and it's actually more. Maybe it's whittled down to like 4 or 5, but there's a good ring of them, and they constantly, like, it's hard to keep up with their identities. Like I said, they're constantly being banned and suspended and changing their names and changing their profile pictures and like actually committing crimes. Yeah, I really hope that this stops. This is cult-like behavior. I 100% believe that. So that may be a video that's coming, but I definitely am ready to continue talking about what happened last summer, if people will listen and try to put an end to this abusive platform that she has. So I'm sorry that my top I did not pin properly, and it's been sitting funky this whole time. I had a whole outfit going. But yeah, that's that. I always say at the end of these, if you enjoyed anything that I had to say, if you haven't hit the thumbs up button, I'm asking you to do it if you want to. It's always uncomfortable for people like me. I know Leah said that before, and in one of her videos, like, oh, these are the things I'm supposed to say. But yeah, if you're interested in what might be coming up on my channel, it's not all Gabbie all the time. I joke that it's the Gabbie show, but it is for now. But if you're interested in other things that I might have to say, please hit the subscribe button with notifications. If you decide after however many videos that you actually don't care for my content, you could unsubscribe. Totally fine. But the other thing too that I always point out is that you are welcome to join my Patreon. It's patreon.com/helloleesh. You see these people with the blue wrenches. Those are my patrons that have been active in Patreon/Discord for 6 months or so. These people, I love them so much. These are the people, when you see my live stream that I'm going to post this week or this weekend, clips of it, these are the people that got me through that situation. And that was horribly, horribly traumatic. Thank you, Jade. So that's just kind of a testament to how good the people are there in my Patreon. And I've gotten messages from new people who said I've already made, close friends that I talk to on a daily basis. And these people are so supportive. So, if that's something you're looking for, please join. We'd love to have you. We have book club. We have a spirit club, which is like a kind of like spirituality and religious studies, loosely, club. We also have rooms for sober people, locked channels for that. We have a channel just for mental health and having a place to vent and get support. We also have places where you can celebrate wins, and we have lots of things going on over there, and it's a really awesome place, and you'll find friends as long as you're not a dick. That's our one big rule, is just don't be a dick. So that's that. That's my Patreon plug, and asking you to like and subscribe to me, to this video, and to my channel. But yeah, I'm really excited to bring you this video Thursday. I'm hoping that I can get it all edited in time. But yeah, I hope you guys check out that video when it comes on Thursday. #WaterGang. I saw that. Say, Jack, you got me. I hope those of you watching that have water bottles nearby took a drink of water. All right, guys. I thank you for all your really your insightful comments, all of the things you wrote in, the super chats, my goodness, and all the hearts. That, like, if I don't know if for anyone else, but that was really moving to me. And so I appreciate you guys so much. Can we do links in the chat? If somebody could just go ahead and type patreon.com/helloleesh. It's pretty easy to find me anywhere on the internet. So yeah, looking forward to having you there in Patreon, and or Thursday we're going to do a live premiere, or next week when we do this again, because this has been really fun. I'm really bad at, you said water gang again? Again? Really? I'm really bad at outros. I tend to ramble. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to say thank you to the 1,330 people who are not me who are watching. Thank you for hanging out till past 2 hours. My God, I don't deserve your presence for that long. Go do something else. Go tell somebody you love them, please. Go give somebody a hug if you can. Let somebody know you love them. Thank you, Sajak, for the link. Thank you for all the hearts. Thank you for sending the love to my child trans girl friend, that hopefully she gets to see all the love that you guys have sent to her, to SA victims, to people who are struggling with mental health issues as well as neurodivergence. Thank you. Thank you for what you guys do for this community. I love you so much. And you guys will see me next time, and then I'll see you next week. I love you too, wife. I love all of you guys. I love you so much. All right. Bye. This is awkward because you never know how long it's going to take for it to end. And so I'm just like, bye.